So in yesterday's episode of Goosebumps, I made a really stupid joke about Adam Sandler being a guest star. It was a very cringy joke. So cringe, so unbased, so utterly fucking stupid that half of you probably died of the cringe joke itself. To that, I apologize. So, in order to mourn your loss, I decided we would actually cover an episode of one of these shows that actually had a celebrity in it. And no, we're not talking about an episode that has a celebrity appearing for a brief second, like David Carradine in that one episode I covered. No, I'm talking about someone who hit it big, who was in one of these shows. Can you guess? I'll give you a hint. He was in Transformers. He was in that really shitty, but probably not going to be the shittiest of the four, or soon to be five, Indiana Jones films. And he's most well known for having live mental breakdowns and self-absorbed narcissistic rants. You guessed it. We're covering an episode with Shia LaBeouf. Frankly, when going back to this, I was pretty surprised to see this guy in there. But I guess he was pretty big in that show. It was Saved by the Bell or something. And then there was that movie Holes that came not too long after. So this guy was in the prime of his career when this happened. He was starting to get up there. And it was all well deserved too, because he does a really good job in this episode. But I have to warn you, viewers, sometimes you have to be really careful. Scareful, in fact, of what you wish for. Because this episode might have more in store than you could have hoped for. That doesn't even make any sense. Who writes this? Alright, I do. Fuck. Scareful what you wish for.
Our episode begins with our main character Dylan, played by Shia LaBeouf, and his friend Ryan, who are packing away toys to be shipped up into the attic. Wait a minute, is that a Transformer? You see, Dylan is growing up, and his middle school graduation is just around the corner, so he decides it's time to start getting rid of stuffing up his closet. But something isn't quite ready to be stepping out of the closet just yet, as something sinister lurks among the boxes. Meanwhile, Dylan's mother sits in the attic watching old VHS tapes of her son at a birthday party.
Pale freaks, goggle-eyed from watching home movies on loop.
She could be helping her son pack things, but priorities. As Dylan starts packing away his toys in the corner of the attic, a police car comes flying out of the boxes.
Come out and fight me! Nothing to be seen now.
The next day at school, Dylan and his friends wander in between classes, and that's when they come face to face with this episode's main antagonist, a demon of such vast proportions that it's a 6-year-old boy.
I'm thoroughly and utterly spooked.
This is Buddy, played by Dylan and Cole Sprouse. For those unfamiliar with these actors like I was, they were in a well-known show known as The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, where they portrayed said characters. Buddy here seems adamant that Dylan be his best friend, but Dylan blows him off because he's far too old to play with stupid little kids.
I like to play.
You know what? I'm sure you like to play, okay? But I'm too old to play with you. So why don't you go play with some other kids your age, okay?
During lunch, Dylan and his two friends talk about the strange exchange they just had in the hallway earlier, when Ryan begins to seize uncontrollably on the floor.
Ryan, somebody call the nurse!
It turns out someone had poisoned him with strawberry jelly, which Ryan is extremely allergic to. Of course, we all know that it was Buddy who did this, since we see little bastard walking around with Ryan's stolen backpack prior to this scene. Dylan and his other friend Beth wait on Ryan outside the nurse's office, hoping that he'll recover from the near-death experience. But when Dylan wanders off for some water, he runs into Buddy, who has a jelly stain on his overalls.
Is it strawberry jelly?
Will you play with me?
Why do you have that? Why do you have strawberry jelly?
Dylan runs home and rummages through some boxes in the attic, and that's when he finds a very familiar-looking doll.
I'm Buddy. I'm your best friend.
That's right, guys. We got ourselves another evil doll story. But don't worry, I'm sure this one will be completely different from the other ones we've covered.
Dylan goes to his mom with the theory that the doll is alive and possibly poisoning his friends. But of course, his mother doesn't believe him and manages to convince him that the jelly and the strange kid at school were all just a coincidence. Later on, Dylan is back at school with Beth, getting ready for the graduation party that's supposed to be taking place really soon. While Beth sets up a banner for the school entrance, Dylan is sent off to gather more balloons, leaving Beth completely exposed to danger. And danger finds her as Zack/Cody decide to attack and knock over the ladder, leaving Beth to be stunned. As Dylan runs to help his friend, he notices the vile little boy in the distance and gives chase, only to find that that little bastard had outrun him. Dylan rushes home and really gives that doll what for.
You can't do this to me, okay? You're ruining my life and hurting my friends.
I'm Buddy. I'm your best friend.
No, you're not. You're not, okay? You were my best friend and you're not anymore. You're not my best friend.
Will you play with me?
I won't play with you. I'll never play with you. Ever again.
You're my best friend.
No, I'm not your best friend.
I'm Buddy.
His mother, of course, witnesses this and hugs her son and tries to calm him down. To take a break from the summary real quick, this is a really good scene. Typical Goosebumps episodes would have dumb parents that yell at their kids or act in a way that makes no goddamn sense. This scene here is believable, and I will commend the writers and actors for the convincing portrayal. Shia does a really good job in this episode so far, and this scene here is probably one of his best so far. Dylan's mother thinks he had a mental breakdown, so what follows next is him actually seeing a therapist. I find it interesting that we actually see a protagonist in one of these shows actually talking to a therapist. As in most episodes of Goosebumps, therapists are always used as idle threats and never actually seen. When questioned about why he tore up the doll, Dylan lies about it and says he doesn't believe the doll is alive, only to immediately do a 180 and say that the doll is actually alive. I'm not sure if he was trying to be sarcastic or acknowledge what he believes is kind of crazy, or if this scene was just rushed by writing staff, but it's just kind of weird. Either way, the therapist comes to the conclusion that Dylan might be acting the way he is under the stress of trying to grow up too soon. An actual, understandable evaluation given the current events, without acknowledging the supernatural events we've seen thus far. This is when Dylan is sent outside where he meets with a small problem.
You're my best friend forever.
Dylan grabs hold of Buddy so he can prove he's actually alive. But right as he brings Buddy out the door, he turns back into a doll again. His therapist and mother exchange worried glances.
He was right here. Why are you looking at me like that? He was right here.
So you might be asking what happens next. Does Dylan get sent to a padded room? Put into more therapy? Given some meds? Well, not that we see in this episode, as we next see him locked away in his room, utterly defeated. His mom tries to comfort him, but ultimately decides it would be best for her to go to the graduation party, as she had previously agreed to help out with the event. This, of course, leaves Dylan all alone in the house with the doll.
You know, if Dylan was my kid, I would have trashed that doll by now. Why haven't they done that?
Dylan decides that it's time to finally deal with Buddy once and for all, and heads up to the attic for the final confrontation. I mentioned earlier that when Dylan attacks Buddy and tears it up, the scene was really well acted and really decent. This scene, however, I think is one of the best in the episode, but could have been made even better if it was made to be a longer-lasting monologue. Even still, a fairly decent monologue from Shia.
Buddy, you were a toy. You're a doll.
I like to play.
And I used to. But now I like different stuff. And you're just gonna have to deal with that.
I'm your best friend forever.
Yeah. Buddy, I'm done with you. It's time to let me go. And let me live my life. Thanks, buddy.
Meanwhile, Dylan's mother is still at the party playing some old family videos for the party guests.
I mean, what events exactly preceded this scene to make her play these videos for her son's friends? I mean, it's not really typical for a parent to be showing home videos at graduation party. At least, not to my knowledge, is that a thing?
While Dylan's mother and Beth watch the videos, they actually begin to start getting some insight on the whole Buddy situation as the home video reveals Buddy's origin. When Dylan was 6 years old, he had a magician at his birthday party, one who knew real magic, and gave Dylan a real special gift.
Abracadabra, alakazam. I tap my wand, and Buddy is real.
Watching the clip of this video, Beth and Dylan's mother finally come to the conclusion that Buddy may have been alive this whole time.
Whoa. What? That's the scene that convinces you? Are you stupid?
Meanwhile, Dylan is taking Buddy back up to the attic to be put with the other toys. And as Buddy rests among the rest of the junk in the attic, Dylan utters a brief sigh as he leaves behind that part of his life and moves on. Or not.
Damn, Buddy is playing for keeps.
That's when Dylan's mother and Beth arrive back at the house. But it's too late. Dylan and Buddy have become best friends. Forever.
And that was Scareful What You Wish For. Frankly, this is probably one of the best episodes I've covered so far, and I can give it nothing but praise. The acting is good, the writing is good, the characters are believable, and it's Shia LaBeouf. I actually enjoy Shia LaBeouf. I know a lot of people hate him for some reason.
Do it! Just do it!
Don't let your dreams be dreams. Yesterday, you said tomorrow, so just do it!
But I think he was pretty good in this episode. I also believe that Dylan and Cole Sprouse also do a decent job with what little screen time they were given. Frankly, that is a gripe I do have. I kind of wish that the doll did more in this story because it doesn't really seem to do much. The benefit of that is that we get a more focus on Dylan and him breaking down rather than just evil doll hijinks. I think that's what separates this from a lot of the other evil doll stories that have been done. There is an evil doll story in The Haunting Hour that's a show I haven't covered yet. I heard the evil doll story in that one was also pretty good, so we're gonna have to check that out next year. I keep getting reminded of this is an evil version of Toy Story 3. You know, like how the ending of Toy Story, the kid gives up his toys. And it's a happy ending. In this one, the kid gives up his toys, but the toys don't give up him. Yeah, maybe it's a message about not growing up too fast. Or maybe I'm reading too much into it. But it's a very decent episode, and I would recommend. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10 because I just enjoy it that much. I think it's better than a lot of the other episodes that exist for this series, and I would definitely recommend that you check it out. Alright guys, that's gonna do it for today's episode. I hope you enjoy. I hope you have a scary day.